back to the presentation. Okay, so we took a look at that. Pretty straightforward, not too difficult to build something like that. But what if we have different overlay layers? If we have a situation where we need to build a couple different leveling layers as well as the milling. So maybe we have a case where we have a overlay layer up here, costs a little bit more money than maybe just a cheaper binder layer that would be used in just to fill in some ruts and potholes and things like that. So how would we design a template like this? So let's take a look at that. So example number 2 is going to be a multi-layer overlay and milling template. So again, we got the 2-inch proposed pavement overlay, and then we're going to have 2 leveling and wedging layers, which you can see here, this one, and then we'll have our milling. On this one, what I'll do is I'll apply some super elevation to it so you can see how that reacts as well. Let's go over here and swap out the template again. Select my template drop handle. I'm going to be using the multi-layer overlay. This is our template that we're going to apply. I'm going to apply this to the corridor, and then we'll go take a look at the template and see how it's set up. Okay, so at the first station, let's go there. You don't really see too much of a difference. You might have to raise up the profile so you can see this better. Okay, so let me change the profile on this so you can better see the multiple layers. I'm going to swap out my profiles. Right now we're following existing ground. I'm going to select one of my alternate profiles in my geometry file. So I'm going to select alternate number 2, raise this up about 3 inches. Now you'll be able to see those layers a little bit better. Okay, so over here we got the premium overlay or the premium leveling layer. And then down here we have the cheaper material or just the economy overlay layer, little wedging area there. And then of course we have the milling. Okay, so once again we can analyze our cross slopes or analyze the colors. In the 3D model, determine the areas where we have the milling and excessive milling and excessive overlay. Okay, so let's go ahead and apply the super elevation to this just to see how it reacts. So I'm going to go over to my corridor. Hopefully I got this set up right. So I'm going to select my super elevation section. Accept that. Select my corridor. My template points. Super elevation lanes, all good to go. Now if we were to do some cross slope correction on our corridor, you'll see how the cross-section changes quite dramatically, obviously. Take a look at the 3D model. Take a look at our colors now. We've reduced the amount of milling that we're doing, and we've also reduced the amount of overlay. Okay, so just by doing some cross-slope correction or applying some super, this particular project or this template definitely going to reduce the amount of material that we need. Okay, so let's go take a look at that template and how that template was built. I forgot to mention that. That one was the multi-layer overlay. That's this one here. This one's similar to the other one I showed. We got our main pavement layer on the top. It's just a regular standard component. But then we got some stuff that was built underneath the component. So we got our milling component here. If I double click on that, you take a look at the properties. The top option is set to follow along the surface. So it's going to find the existing ground or the active terrain model. Typically the existing ground is going to follow along the top. Bottom option would follow along the component, which would be this component here. Now if we take a look at the overlay, the premium overlay or the premium leveling component here, that option is set to follow along the component, and the bottom option is set to follow along the higher of the two. So it's either going to follow the component or it's going to follow the surface. It's also set to go down at a particular depth of 0.33. Okay, so that's why you see this being drawn with a thickness or a depth, because we've set 0.33 here. Now, if we take a look further, dig into this, there's another component been added on to the bottom of this layer, and this is the economy overlay or the economy leveling course. And that one's defined to follow the component along the top. The top option is set to follow along the bottom of this premium overlay component. The bottom option is set to follow the surface. We go and test this template. The test button. I'm going to key in a slope here. Start off with 3%. Change my exaggeration a little bit. So in the existing grounds up here, just going to do some milling to build the proposed pavement. Once it starts going below the proposed pavement, you're going to see how it reacts. We still have to do some milling, build the proposed backbone. Then we start going below. You can see we're going to need some of the premium overlay leveling material here. Still going to need some milling over there. And when it starts getting a little bit deeper, where it's totally overbuild and overlay, you're going to get this 0.333 thickness of premium overlay material. Then you're going to get the less expensive binder leveling material there. Okay, so that's how this one is set up to work. And that's what it looks like when you apply it to your corridor with some corrected cross slopes or super elevation assigned. So now I'm going to change this template back, or change my profile back to existing ground, because I want to start talking about how we can evaluate quantities and cost. I'm going to set that back to existing ground.
If you found this video helpful, please give it a like. If you want to see more such series, consider subscribing to our channel. Thank you, and see you next time.